Somewhere in America right now, a 52-year-old is looking at a retirement account and feeling pretty good about the number. And that number is about to lie to them in 3 different ways. Because retirement isn't one number, it's 3 hidden numbers and almost nobody knows all 3. Get one wrong and the other 2 quietly fall apart. So today we're going to find all 3 in order before they find you. The first hidden number is $47,000. That's the median income for a household headed by someone 75 or older. $47,000 for the whole household in a full year. Sit with that number for a second because it's smaller than most people expect. And it tells you something the brochures never will. Most of that $47,000 isn't coming from a giant investment portfolio. It's coming from Social Security. The average benefit is under $2,000 a month. So the picture of a golden nest egg funding everything? For most households, that's not the picture. The picture is a modest Social Security check doing most of the heavy lifting, which raises the obvious question, what happens to the part it doesn't cover? That gap is exactly where the second hidden number lives. But before we get there, let's meet the people living inside these numbers. Because a statistic is easy to ignore, a person isn't. Meet John, 52, operations manager, $94,000 a year. He's got $380,000 saved and he thinks he's basically done. He is not done. He's just starting to hit the part that actually matters. Because John's been measuring the wrong thing his whole career. He's been measuring the pile, the total, the balance at the top of the app. And the pile feels like safety. Big number, big comfort. But the pile isn't what you retire on, the income is. And John has never once calculated what his pile actually produces as income. So let's do it for him. This is where it gets uncomfortable. $380,000. Sounds like a lot. Let's turn it into a paycheck. And to do that, we need the second hidden number. The second hidden number is 3.9%. John pulls up his account, $380,000. He nods, feels safe. In his head, he's thinking he can pull whatever he needs. It's his money. What he doesn't know is that there's a speed limit on that money. 3.9% is roughly the safe withdrawal rate a careful planner would use today. On $380,000, that's about $15,000 a year. $15,000 from the pile that felt like it would last forever. John assumed he could pull $30,000, maybe $40,000 a year. He can't, not safely. Pull too fast and you hit something called sequence of returns risk, which is a fancy way of saying the order of your good and bad years matters. A crash early in retirement while you're withdrawing can gut a portfolio that never recovers. Same average return, different order, wildly different outcome. That's the trap. So 3.9% isn't a suggestion. It's a guardrail against that trap. John's advisor never framed it this way. He just showed him the growing balance. So now John's real income from savings is about $15,000 a year. Add Social Security. Say his Social Security is $24,000 a year. Add it up. 15 plus 24. That's $39,000 of income. $39,000? Remember the median? 47. John is below it. The guy who felt done is below the median he never knew existed. And here's where most people panic. But panic isn't a plan. Because we still haven't found the third number. And the third number changes everything. The third hidden number isn't a dollar amount, it's a ratio. It's called the income coverage ratio. Guaranteed income divided by essential expenses. This is the number that actually tells you whether you can sleep at night. Not the pile, not even total income, the coverage ratio. Here's why. Some of your income is guaranteed. Some of it can vanish in a bad year. Social Security is guaranteed. A pension is guaranteed. Those checks show up no matter what. Portfolio withdrawals are not guaranteed. In a crash, that $15,000 can shrink. So the question is, what percent of your essential bills is covered by guaranteed income? Essentials, housing, food, utilities, insurance, healthcare, the stuff you can't skip. Let's run John's coverage ratio. His essentials are about $40,000 a year. His guaranteed income is Social Security, $24,000. 24 divided by 40. His coverage ratio is 60%. 60% of his must-pay bills are covered by money that can't disappear. The other 40% depends on his portfolio not having a bad decade. 60%. That's the real number. Not 380, not 39. 60%. And now, for the first time, John's retirement has a diagnosis instead of a vibe. A vibe says, I feel okay. A diagnosis says, here's exactly what's exposed. And once you have the diagnosis, you can actually treat it. So let's stop scaring John and start fixing him. 3 numbers, 3 moves. Move 1 attacks the coverage ratio directly. Buy more guaranteed income. The cleanest way? Delay Social Security. Every year you wait raises the guaranteed check. Delaying from 67 to 70 can boost the benefit by roughly 24%. That's not a market bet. That's a permanent raise on the check that never crashes. For John, that could push his guaranteed income from 24 to closer to 30. 30 divided by 40 essentials. His coverage ratio jumps from 60 to 75%. One decision, no extra dollar saved, 15 points of coverage. That's the leverage nobody talks about because it's boring and it works. Move 2 goes after the second number, the 3.9% withdrawal rate. You don't raise that rate by being brave. You raise it by lowering risk near retirement. A crash the year you retire is the whole ballgame, so you defuse the risk zone. 2 or 3 years of essential spending held in cash and safe bonds. So when the market drops, you spend from the safe bucket, not the falling one. You never sell stocks at the bottom to pay the electric bill. That's the whole trick. It sounds small. It's the difference between a scare and a catastrophe. This is how you actually survive sequence of returns risk instead of just fearing it. Move 3 is the one people avoid because it's the most honest one. Attack the essentials number itself. Lower the denominator of the ratio. If your essentials are 40,000, every 1,000 you cut lifts your coverage ratio. Not luxuries, structural costs, the mortgage, the second car, the too big house. Pay off the mortgage before you retire, and your essentials might drop by 15,000. Now, John's essentials aren't 40, they're 25. 30 guaranteed income divided by 25 essentials. Coverage ratio over 100%. Over 100% means every essential bill is covered by money that cannot crash. At that point, the market can do whatever it wants. John eats either way. That is what real retirement security feels like. Not a big pile, a covered floor. Coverage ratio over 100%. That's the target. That's the finish line. And notice what got him there. Not luck. Not a hot stock. 3 deliberate moves. Delay the guaranteed check, diffuse the risk zone, shrink the essentials. None of it required predicting the market. All of it required knowing the 3 numbers. So let's zoom out, because there's a fourth force we haven't named yet. And it quietly attacks all 3 numbers at the same time, inflation. Inflation is the thief that shrinks every number on this page while you sleep. 47,000 today does not buy 47,000 in 20 years. At 3% inflation, prices roughly double in about 24 years. So a retirement that works on day 1 can quietly break by year 15. This is why the guaranteed income matters even more than it first appears. Social Security adjusts for inflation. It rises with the cost of living. That's rare and precious. A fixed pension usually doesn't. A cash bucket definitely doesn't. Only some income keeps up. So the guaranteed inflation-adjusted slice is the most valuable dollar in your whole plan, which is why delaying Social Security is even better than it looked a minute ago. You're not just buying a bigger check. You're buying a bigger check that grows with prices. That's the one asset that fights inflation and the risk zone at the same time. Now let's talk about the number that scares people more than the market ever could. Healthcare. Because this is where retirements quietly go to die. A 65-year-old couple retiring today may need over $300,000 for healthcare. $300,000 just for medical costs across retirement. That's not the vacation fund. For a single person, estimates run around $185,000. Enormous either way. And notice, healthcare is an essential. It goes straight into the denominator. So the coverage ratio you thought you fixed can get blown open by one diagnosis. This is why coverage ratio, not pile size, is the number that lets you sleep. John didn't plan for this. Most people don't. They plan for the fun part. But the essentials number is ruthless. It counts the boring, scary bills too. So a real plan builds a healthcare buffer on top of the covered floor. Health savings account if he qualifies, triple tax advantage, the most underused account there is. Money in tax-free, grows tax-free, comes out tax-free for medical. Nothing else does all 3. If John had funded an HSA for a decade, that $300,000 looks a lot less terrifying. But here's Diana, 34. She's watching John's story and feeling behind. Way behind. And here's Robert, 64, already retired, living the numbers in real time. Robert did one thing right and one thing wrong, and the split is instructive. Diana's problem is she thinks it's too late to matter. It is the opposite of too late. Because the earlier, the 3 numbers, the more moves you have available. At 34, Diana can attack all 3 numbers with decades of runway. She can delay Social Security later, build the safe bucket slowly, kill the mortgage early. She has the one thing John is running out of and Robert has already spent: time. Time is the only input that makes small contributions turn into a covered floor. So Diana's takeaway isn't panic. It's that her ordinary savings started now can win. $500 a month, invested from 34, is a very different retirement than starting at 50. Not because of magic, because of time doing what time does to compounding. And every year she waits, one of her 3 moves gets weaker. That's the real cost of delay. So the worst thing Diana can do with this video is feel bad and do nothing. The best thing she can do is calculate her own 3 numbers this week. Now Robert, retired at 64. Here's what he got right. He paid off his house first. So Robert's essentials number is low. His mortgage is gone. That was the smart move. His coverage ratio looked healthy on day 1. Guaranteed income covered the basics. But here's what Robert got wrong. He never diffused the risk zone. He kept almost everything in stocks, retired, and then the market dropped 15%. And because he had no safe bucket, he sold stocks at the bottom to pay bills. Worse, a salesman had talked him into a high-fee product right before that. Promising the moon, delivering fees, Robert didn't know to ask about the 3 numbers. This is the exact mistake John was about to make, until we ran his numbers. The lesson isn't that stocks are bad. It's that timing plus withdrawals is the danger. Robert had the coverage ratio. He just didn't protect it through the risk zone. One fix, a 2-year cash bucket, and Robert's scare becomes a footnote instead of a wound. So the 3 numbers aren't just for planning, they're a checklist for catching bad advice. Watch how John uses them now. He walks into that same salesman's office, and instead of nodding at the big pile, he asks 3 questions. What's my guaranteed income? What's my safe withdrawal rate? What's my coverage ratio? And watch Maya, 28, in the back of the room, quietly writing all 3 down. Because Maya just got a 40-year head start on the thing most people learn at 64. 3 questions. If a product can't improve one of these numbers, it's not for you. A salesman hates those 3 questions because they replace a vibe with a scoreboard. Maya opens her retirement app that night and sets her first automatic contribution. Small, consistent, aimed at building guaranteed income and a covered floor decades early. She's not trying to get rich, she's trying to get covered. Different goal entirely. And covered, started at 28, is almost impossible to lose. Carla, 32, does the math a little differently but reaches the same 3 numbers. Her plan, max the coverage ratio, then let any extra pile be a bonus, not the point. Because once your essentials are covered by guaranteed income, the pile is just upside. And upside you can afford to lose is the only kind that lets you actually enjoy it. That's the flip almost nobody makes, from protecting the pile to covering the floor. Carla sips her coffee, unbothered by headlines because her floor doesn't move with the news. Coverage first, pile second, that single reorder changes every decision you make. Let's put all 3 hidden numbers on one page so you never forget them. Number 1, 47,000, the median reality, aim to clear it on purpose. Number 2, 3.9%, your safe withdrawal speed limit, respect it. Number 3, your coverage ratio, guaranteed income over essentials, drive it past 100. Get those 3, and inflation and healthcare become problems you manage, not disasters that manage you. Miss them and no pile is big enough, because you'll never know when you're safe. That's the cruel part. Without the numbers, even rich people feel broke and scared. With the numbers, even modest savers feel steady. It's not about the amount, it's about the map. So here's your assignment, and it takes about 20 minutes. Find your 3 numbers. Pull your Social Security estimate. That's your starting guaranteed income. Take your savings, multiply by 3.9%. That's your real annual income from the pile. Add them together, compare to the median. See where you actually stand. Then list your essentials: housing, food, utilities, insurance, healthcare. Total them. Divide guaranteed income by essentials. That percentage is your coverage ratio, your real score. Under 50%, you have work to do, and now you know exactly what work. Between 50 and 100, you're on track, and every move nudges you higher. Over 100%, congratulations. You've built something a market crash can't take. And if you don't like your number today, remember Diana. The number is a starting line, not a verdict. Every one of the 3 moves is available to you. Delay, diffuse, shrink the essentials. Pick the one you can do this year, and your future self inherits a better ratio. Because retirement security was never about hitting some magic pile size. It's about the day your guaranteed income quietly covers your guaranteed bills. After that day, the market is just weather. You watch it, you don't fear it. John got there with 3 moves he could have made years earlier if he'd known. Robert got most of the way, and one missing bucket cost him a scary year. Diana has the most powerful asset of all, time, and now she knows to use it. And Maya, at 28, is going to make this look easy because she started with the map. The difference between all of them was never income. It was knowing which numbers to watch. So watch the right 3, not the pile that lies, the 3 that tell the truth. 47,000, 3.9%, and your coverage ratio above 100. Nail those, and you don't just retire. You retire without the fear that follows most people in. Because the fear doesn't come from small numbers. It comes from unknown numbers. And you don't have unknown numbers anymore. You have 3, and you know what to do with each. So this week, run the 20-minute exercise. Find your 3, write them on one page. Then pick one move, just one, and watch your coverage ratio climb. That's how a vibe becomes a plan. That's how scared becomes steady. Not with a lottery ticket. With 3 numbers most people will never bother to find. You just did. That already puts you ahead of the 52-year-old we started with. 3 hidden numbers, 47,000, 3.9%, your coverage ratio. Now they're not hidden anymore. Now they're yours. And the moment you know your numbers, you stop guessing about the most important years of your life. So let's make this real. Open your account after this video. Not tomorrow. Today. Because Diana at 34 and Diana at 44 inherit 2 completely different retirements. And the only thing separating them is whether she starts the 20-minute exercise now. The math doesn't care about your intentions. It only rewards the version of you that acts. So be the one who acts. Find the 3 numbers while you still have moves to make. Delay the guaranteed check. Diffuse the risk zone. Shrink the essentials. In whatever order fits your life. Each one moves the ratio. Each one is a lever you control, no matter what the market does. And when someone tries to sell you a shortcut, you'll have the 3 questions ready. Guaranteed income. Safe withdrawal rate. Coverage ratio. If it doesn't move one, it's not for you. That's not being difficult. That's being the person who finally knows the score. Most people retire on a feeling. You're going to retire on a number, 3 of them. And those 3 numbers will still be true in the crash, in the boom, in the boring years between. That's the whole point. A plan that holds when the headlines don't. John finally has that. Robert's building his missing piece. Diana and Maya have decades. And now, so do you. The numbers were always there. You just needed someone to point. Consider yourself pointed. 47,000, 3.9%, coverage over 100. Say them out loud once, because the numbers you can name are the numbers you can chase. And the ones you chase are the ones that quietly build the floor you'll stand on for 30 years. A floor that doesn't flinch when the market does. That's what we've been building this whole time. Not a pile to admire, a floor to stand on. There's a world of difference. A pile can be cut in half in a year. A covered floor stays covered. So stop measuring the pile. Start measuring the floor. That's the mindset shift that changes everything. And it costs you nothing but 20 minutes and the honesty to look at your own 3 numbers. Some of them might be uglier than you hoped. That's fine. Ugly and known beats pretty and blind. Because a known number you can fix. An unknown number just waits to ambush you at 75. Don't get ambushed. Get the numbers. Get them this week while it's fresh. Then come back and tell the next person the 3 numbers, because now you're the one who points. That's how this actually spreads. Not through brochures, through people who finally understand. You understand now. The pile lies. The 3 numbers don't. 47,000 is the reality. 3.9% is the speed limit. And the coverage ratio is the one that decides whether you sleep. Drive that ratio past 100, and you've done what most people never manage. You've turned retirement from a hope into a math problem you already solved. And solved math problems don't keep you up at night. Open questions do. So close the open question. Run your 3 numbers. Make your 1 move. And then live the years you spent your whole life saving for, without the fear tax. Because the fear tax is the most expensive thing most retirees ever pay. And it's optional. It's optional the moment you know your 3 numbers. So make it optional, starting today. If this helped you see your retirement more clearly, share it with someone at 52 who needs it. Someone who thinks they're done because the pile looks big. Send them the 3 numbers. It might be the most useful 20 minutes you ever give another person. And if you want more of these, the kind that hand you the real numbers, you know what to do. Subscribe so the next hidden number finds you before it costs you. Because there's always a next number. Taxes in retirement, required distributions, long-term care. We'll take them one at a time, the same way. No hype, no pile worship, just the numbers that matter. For now, you've got the 3 that matter most. Go find yours. 47,000, 3.9%, and a coverage ratio you drive past 100. Learn those, protect those, and retirement stops being the thing you fear. It becomes the thing you planned. Down to the number, all 3 of them. I'll see you in the next one. Go run your 20 minutes. Your future self is counting on it.